we close to heaven yet?
Well, not quite there, but we're getting close.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Tuesday, August 11th. And it's still 8 a.m., even though we didn't bring the clock up to the tower top.
Yeah. It's always 8 a.m.
It is. That's when we do devotions. At 8 a.m.
Well, you know, that intro reminded me of a story in the Bible.
Did it now? Which one?
You know, I think if we turn to Genesis 11, that might give us
A clue?
a clue.
There it is, the Tower of Babel. I remember this story. There's a guy in it.
Yep.
His name is Nimrod,
It is.
but I don't see him here in chapter 11.
Yeah, well, you know what? You can look him up. You find out where the term being a Nimrod came from. But
Yeah. We used to use that when I was a kid. I don't hear people say it anymore, though. I think it was dying out when I was a kid already.
yeah, I've definitely heard of the term, but it was not one of those zingers that you called.
Oh, I
people.
know. It was like rude when I was a kid. You wanted to be really mean? Nimrod.
But Nimrod is actually a character from the Bible, and he does have a role in this story. Although, as you're right, I don't see his name actually in this specific section, but he is in here.
Yeah, he's mentioned in chapter 10, verse 9. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore, he said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. But
Anyway, let's get into
the actual story
the actual story.
sounds great. Do you want to read it or shall I?
Well, why don't you read this time?
Okay. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. Could you imagine being able to understand everybody?
Oh man, I think about that all the time. Like, not having one language, but what it would be like to be able to speak multiple languages, to be able to communicate with other people.
Oh.
Language fascinates me. I was literally having a conversation about this yesterday with Zach.
Oh.
But
Why
anyway,
isn't Zach up here?
I know
Oh.
he'd be able to speak a few languages for us.
Oh, well. Okay, and as the people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. I don't know what that is, but I'm
I have
sure it's...
tar in my version.
Okay, so it's a type of tar. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a tower, a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth.
You know, I find it interesting that, well, one, God had a specific plan for the people to spread out and populate the earth. But it is amazing that he recognizes that if they worked together, nothing would be impossible for them.
I noticed that too, because I think of like nothing's impossible for God, and then
Yeah.
here he goes and says nothing would be impossible for man if we could just understand each other.
Teamwork, people. We
Yep.
can do a lot. However, we shouldn't do things that go against God's plan for us, because he can make the impossible, or he can, what am I trying to say?
I have no
His
idea.
impossible is way more than our impossible.
Yes, okay.
I guess
agree
that's
with
what I'm
that.
trying to say. If we're still powerful together, but God's even more powerful than us. If
Right.
we try to go against him.
Yes.
We're not even close. He
No.
was able to make everyone confused, and they couldn't communicate with each other. And
You know what else this means? That the ability to learn another language is actually from God. So if you can't learn another language, it's not your fault. God has just confused you.
that's why when I listen to people, I just hear babbling. I'm just not very good at languages. I wish I was, but
Yeah.
I
have
get
a cousin
overwhelmed.
that's really good at languages.
Yeah.
She's a translator. I'm not bitter at all. No. But I love this part in here. Well, I mean, it's not like very encouraging for people, but I like this part about the fact that he says, you know, the people are saying that they're going to build a city and a tower so that they can make a name for themselves, and so that there's somewhere where everybody can come together and be like a multi-nation and take over everything.
You know what that actually reminds me of is how we were talking about how in the name of the Lord, you know, the tower is safety and strong, but in the name of people, this was something very disconcerting to God. Like,
Yeah.
because they weren't doing it in the name of the Lord. They were doing it in the name of themselves to make themselves famous. And even
Yes.
if they were, you know, attempting to reach the heavens, it wasn't for the glory of God. It
No.
was for the glory of them.
Yeah, because I think I had always sort of had this impression that they were trying to get
I
up to God,
know.
but I'm not reading that
I'm
here.
not reading that either. Is that one of those Sunday school things where you hear that? It could be in a different section.
It could be, but I'm not seeing it. And maybe that is one of those tricks, you know, like how Jesus was, the wise men found him in a house, not in the stable. So, you know, just you should look that one up too.
That's why it's always important to read God's word yourself, because sometimes when you start actually looking, you realize that you have these assumptions that you're not entirely sure where they came from.
Yes. Sometimes they're right,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're wrong.
Because the interesting thing is, and I think what makes it so cool about the Bible is in the Bible, singular stories and historical events are referenced in multiple places.
Yes.
So the Tower of Babel is actually referenced in other parts of the Bible, not just in Genesis chapter 11. And so that's why it is, I may not remember it, but it's possible that things were referenced in there just in a different section. So it's important to study the Bible.
Yes. All right. I think that's it for today on the Tower of Babel. And, you know, we should probably say goodbye in a different language.
Adios.
Hey, that's finished. We're really complicated.